What's going on, YouTube? It's your boy ItsAdiar with my first build guide for the Legacy of Phrecia Event in Path of Exile 1. This is going to be a pure cold Wildspeaker Flicker Strike build. We're currently blasting our way through T16s. We can kind of do T17s. If we're selective with our mods, we can do the map boss. Nah, this is not a T17 bosser at all. It's not really much of a bosser in general. It's just something to blast your way through your T16s. I'll go ahead and walk you through the gear. I've got a POB link as well for the current setup. And I'm going to talk through a couple of the key pieces and some replacements that you can use while you're working your way toward them. So let's go ahead and hop into this. Let me go ahead and pull the POB up for you real quick. It's going to be this one right here. All right, so this is our Flicker Strike. We're currently doing, with everything turned on, 13 million. If we turn off our tinctures do a ton of work for melee builds, let me tell you. If I turn that off, we go down to 8 million. Even with the tincture turned off, we're still demolished. Like I almost never touch the tincture unless I'm on like a map boss or something, right? It's a nice, okay, I need damage button. But otherwise, it is what it is. We've got Exilia's Promise for some chaos resistance and a little bit of leech. A little bit of extra damage. We've got a Silver Flask for our onslaught, and we've got a reduced curse effect on there. I'm using an Oriath's End. You don't need to use this. You can put whatever you want here. I find that it makes the clear a bit more smooth. At one point, I was farming the Big Bomb Expedition, and it was definitely helping to smooth that out. This is not a mandatory pickup at all. So if you need to, just throw whatever flask you want to throw in there. You can throw in a Jade, you can throw in a Bismuth flask if you need help with your resistances, just whatever you need. White Wind. This is non-negotiable. You will be using this weapon. I tried replacing this with a Paradoxica setup on this tree right here. I tried replacing it with Paradoxica, Forbidden Shaco, Bronze Lith, and all that good stuff. It's not worth it. It's like, this looks like that 20 looks good, right? It's not worth it. This is probably 50 divines to upgrade to change over to this. And it's so unnecessary. On top of which, look at the tankiness here. The tankiness here is abysmal. Effective hit pool is 11k. Meanwhile, the effective hit pool on the current setup I'm using is almost 30k. And it does make a difference, I promise you that. On the belt slot, Replica Headhunter. I thought this belt was a meme. However, while I was doing my expedition farming, this belt was the difference between me dying 3 to 4 times in a map sometimes to dying once, maybe. There are a couple of options that you can replace here. If you're not doing the expedition stuff and you want big damage, you can go Arn's Anguish. That Arn's Anguish gives me another 32% damage on this build right now because I'm using Replica Badge of the Brotherhood. If you want something that'll make you a little bit more tankier, you can go for Inda's Stand. Inda's Stand with since we're using a Bronze Lith, Inda's Stand gives you like 1,000 ward. It's really, really nice. For the ring, on the right ring slot, we are using Polaric Devastation. That's giving us Covered in Frost. It's giving us a little bit of crit, and it's giving us some resistances. This ring can and probably should be replaced in my build at some point with another ring sort of similar to this. This is a Frenzy Charge Implicit Ring crafted with a Horror Essence for the double damage per frenzy. And then we've just got resistances and then flat cold damage on there. As you can see, if I put on another one of these, let me turn this off. If I turn that off and I look at this ring, even if I'm not getting the Covered in Frost, this ring is still like, what is that? That ring is still more damage on top of getting better resistances, potential life. So, why is my Steam opening up? That was weird. Replica badge of the Brotherhood. I wasn't sold on this at first. I love this thing now. It gives us so much tankiness that we really, really need. If I take this off, my effective HP goes down by like 20%. Also, it enables you to use Arns of Anguish. So there's that. Replica badge is super, super cheap. It's like 20 or 30 chaos. It costs nothing. And if you go with Replica badge, you're gonna want to anoint Disciple of the Unyielding. This will give you your endurance charge generation while you are in your maps, giving you 8% chance to get an endurance charge per kill. And it also gives you a little bit of extra damage, right? Gives me, like, that node is giving me 5.6 damage, 5.6% damage. Boots. We are not using Dark Ray Vectors. Two things. Number one, we really, 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 really need the resistances on these boots. Number two, with the implicit, we are, with the implicit combined with our tree and an ancestral vision, we are immune to all ailments. Without the boots, we would not quite reach it. We would have to put some points into suppression on the tree, and then we'd still be struggling for res. Res is hard to get. You see, we are using a lot of uniques on this build. If you want to use Dark Ray Vectors, you're probably going to want to put 4 points, either put the 4 points in to get this, or just get the 4 points here. Get one of these, and then you're going to need to take the mastery for charge duration. If you try to play a Wildspeaker and you have Dark Ray Vectors on, there is sometimes this odd little 4-second window where you simply don't have frenzy charges, and I promise you it will catch you off guard and you will die because of it. So just be aware of that. If you are going to use Dark Ray Vectors, you need to get the charge duration right there. On the gloves, I am currently using spiked gloves. I have +1 max frenzy, and I have the elevated strike mod, and then I multi-modded out some life and attack speed. There's a couple of things that you can do here. The first thing you can glue in this glove slot, and what a lot of people start off with, is going to be your southbound gloves. These are going to give you a nice chunk of cold damage to your attacks. They're going to give you life and res. It is going to say that you can only kill frozen enemies. As long as you're critting, they're frozen, so it's fine. After you're southbound, you could potentially move into some gloves that are combined but are not elevated. For example, my old gloves are right here. They had non-elevated frenzy, non-elevated strike with a big accuracy roll, and then a resistance crafted onto them. And that's how you can progress that slot there. You're gonna be using a bronze lith. It's so much damage. Bronze lith is 25% damage on my build. It's so hard not to use this now that you don't have to use Feral's Fur as a Flicker Strike build. And then because we're a pure cold build, we are using a heat shiver. Technically, Replica Abyssus is higher damage. Technically, Replica Abyssus will get you killed. Don't put that helmet on. Don't do it. Just don't do it. And then going back to your White Wind, you want to get as high of a damage roll as possible on all three of the rolls that matter. So the flat cold damage, the attack speed, and the increased damage when your offhand is empty. The spell suppression roll, that can be minimum rolled as long as you get a avoid elements implicit on your boots, and you will still be able to suppression cap with your ancestral vision. 1 second. Forgot to go D&D. Gotta be a good trader. Gotta keep the economy moving. What the hell? Come on, bud. Thank you. All right, back to the build. So again, on your White Wind, you want cold damage, you want attack speed, you want as high. You just sort it by DPS, And then you want to look for a very high cold damage and offhand. I wouldn't go under 180 on that. Suppression roll doesn't matter. Evasion roll, that's up to you. On the jewels, we are using Ancestral Vision. This is allowing us to be immune to all ailments. And then I have a resistance jewel with some damage on it here to help carry the resistance because it was a bit dicey. And then I'm using a Light of Meaning with 5% crit. These are extremely cheap. I bought this for 30 chaos. Look at the damage. Now look at the damage, right? Light of Meaning is giving me 14% damage because it's giving me so much critical strike chance, right? We go from 97 to, or excuse me, 77 to 92. It's so much crit. It's so much crit. As far as the tree itself, we come out, we go up here, we get finesse. We are of course using Fearful Symmetry and Flash of the Teeth to generate our frenzy charges. We're using Primal Instinct for the spell suppression chance. This works. This is what we're using to be element immune with Ancestral Vision. It's giving us a ton of our suppression there. I should technically put on Acrobatics because we would have capped Acrobatics pretty much. What do we have? We'd have 70%. So if I could click Acrobatics and it would technically work. I just haven't clicked it. I personally feel like I handle the suppressed hits better than the single big hit that doesn't get evaded, which is why I have not clicked that. That is up to you. That's dealer's choice. If you like the way Acrobatics feels, click it. If you don't, then don't do it. And then we also took Scourge of the Wilds. We're getting damage off of our dexterity. We're not trying to actively scale dex. But this is still giving us almost 20% damage because we have so much dexterity. On the tree, we come out, crit damage, resistance is here, life, frenzy, and crit there. We come over here, we get the exposure, is always going to be minus 18 because we get exposure down here on hit. Up here, this specifically is where we put the Light of Meaning jewel because it hits the most amount of nodes up here because we're taking Mark the Prey wheel, we're taking From the Shadows, we're taking both of the dagger wheels, we're taking the crit and accuracy, and we're taking the life and the leech. We're taking all of that, and all of these nodes have critical strike chance on them because of the Light of Meaning jewel. And then we of course take all the frenzy charges. So we take 1, 2, and 3, and of course we take the infused for the extra power charge as well. Get some life here and here. This rage wheel is amazing. Actually, I need to change mine. I'm glad I caught that. Because this should be 36 rage. We don't really need to worry about the lower loss of rage. We're pretty much always going to be at max rage once we get it. Unless there's no enemies, in which case we don't need rage anymore. One thing, very important. I'm actually going to change it in the POB. I have the attack mastery, monsters cannot block your attacks. The reason I have this is, again, because I was running Expedition. Oftentimes they will get a node that lets them block. I didn't want to deal with that. So instead of taking the extra strike, I took that. If you're not running Expedition, your notable here, or your mastery node here, should be non-vol strike skills, target one additional nearby enemy. That's always what it should be. We come up here for the blind, and then I have blind mastery because I'm running corrupted maps and I don't want to be blinded. If you're not running corrupted maps and you can avoid that, then you could get the 60% chance to crit against blinded enemies. That's like another 5% damage increase right there. We did take the dexterity here on top of the dexterity per allocated mastery. This is a ton of damage, and it's also a ton of accuracy. If I unspec this right here, look at my hit chance. It goes from 95 to 89, right? So just take this. It's really, really, really good. One thing that you can do if you're really struggling with accuracy, as long as you've got decent dex, the mastery here that gives you +3 accuracy per dex actually gives you a ton. Like my next point will be this mastery because of like, look how much damage it gives me. It's 10% damage, right? It's a ton of damage. That will be my next point. I just don't want to drop any life nodes to grab it. Otherwise, I would have already taken it. We are going to be a little bit struggling for int, so make sure that you're getting your intelligence nodes here and here. And if you're not using, if you don't have a strength roll on your belt, you're probably going to need to use a strength roll here at beef or at prowess. Going over these skills, we have a steel skin with automation. Just get the steel skin to whatever level your strength is going to allow you to do. I'm unironically using a cast on death portal because, again, expedition. I probably don't need that now, but you know, it's already there, so we're just going to leave it in. Who cares? Vol flicker strike. I missed my upgrade. I wish this was a 21. A 21 would get me like, you know, a little bit more damage there, but it is what it is. We're using a multi-strike. Of course, end game, you want to upgrade this to awakened multi-strike if you've got the bank for it. Awakened added cold damage. If you don't have awakened, just use the regular. I'm using a level 21 ice bite because I found it on the ground. If you have a 2020, going from a 21 ice bite to a 2020, it goes from 13.7 to 13.5. So a 21 ice bite is better than a 2020 ice bite. Nightblade, of course, is amazing. We're using a dagger. This is mandatory. Elemental damage with attacks. I'm actually not using this skill gem right now. In my mapping, I'm actually using life tap. That way I can do, that way I can not have to deal with the map mod cannot leech. But if you're not actively doing that mod, you can go ahead and use elemental damage with attacks. You can also, because we have the replica badge of the Brotherhood, you could potentially, and this is something you could do if you want to just be a little bit tankier, you could also use a fortified gem. You lose a little bit of your damage, right? So we go from 13.7 to 12.1. However, look at that. Oh yeah, hold on. And then we have Arctic armor, so I had to put the modifiers here. So that's with a fortified gem. And if you don't have fortifies a lot. Very, very nice option if you want a little bit more tankiness. That's up to you, dealer's choice. How I would progress this, I'll be honest with you. When I started the league, I did not know what build or class or anything I was going to play. I was too sick to really get a good look at any of the ascendancies, so I just clicked on a ranger and kind of sent it. I actually leveled with Mana Forged Arrows because I was originally going to play that, and then I saw how popular it was, and I was like, you know what? I don't want to pay those prices, so here we are playing Flicker. If you wanted to level this as Flicker, you could do it as early as your second ascendancy. I think leveling wolves, though, if you're willing to spend the points to unspec this later on, leveling wolves is just, it's amazing. That's what I leveled with. It is amazing. If you've never leveled wolves, level wolves. It's kind of fun. My order of progression here for your ascendancy: Flash of Teeth, Fearful Symmetry. That would be your number 1 and number 2. Afterward, I would probably, if you've got your ancestral vision or have the ability to get your ancestral vision very, very soon, I would just go ahead and get Primal Instinct. That way you can be ailment immune. If not, go ahead and get your damage node on Scourge of the Wilds and then get Primal Instinct from your Oob Lab. That's going to be up to you to figure out which way you want to do that. So it's 1, 2, and then 3 and 4 are interchangeable based on your needs. That's all I've got for you for now. If you've got any questions, go ahead and please leave them in the comments. I'm also typically live on Twitch and on YouTube streaming. If I'm live on Twitch, if I'm live on YouTube, I'm always live on Twitch. But I'm not always live on, sometimes I do Twitch only streams because I want to listen to music. So look, it is what it is. Caught. Yeah, that's all I've got for you. Hopefully this is something that was helpful, something you enjoy. Hopefully if you play this, you have a good time. And if you got questions, let me know. I'm trying to get to 3K subs on YouTube by the end of March. I don't know if we're gonna reach it, but it's a goal. So maybe help me out. Bye-bye. Love ya.
The unrighteous will return. Need your aid.